Hey guys, it's me, Holly Madison. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're continuing with my reaction series to Girls Next Door. We are on season 4, episode 15, She Got Game. This is all about the Super Bowl. So as you guys might know from watching videos here on this channel, I have suffered from depression and anxiety throughout my adult life. And one of the things that makes me feel better is talking to you guys. It's a little bit like therapy, but I do other things as well, and one of my favorite things is talking to a therapist on BetterHelp. If you think you might be feeling depressed, stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed, today's sponsor, BetterHelp, is here to help. I'm so excited about BetterHelp. It is the first sponsor I've ever approved for this channel because mental health means so much to me, and I think especially in this day and age, it's more important than ever to address your mental health and make sure you're taking care of yourself. So I'm really happy to share this sponsor with you guys. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to your therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapist network that gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. You just fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions, plus you can exchange unlimited messages and everything you share is completely confidential. Also, you can request a new therapist at any time free of charge. Join the 3 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist. You can get 10% off your first month at www.betterhelp.com/HollyMadison, which I will also link below. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/HollyMadison. So thank you so much to BetterHelp, and let's get going with our video. So the cold open starts with Kendra in the secretary's office. She's talking to Amanda, one of the secretaries who I don't think we've seen before on the show. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But she tells her she was asked to play in some like football game event before the Super Bowl, and told her she had to wear a Tom Brady jersey, which Kendra didn't want to do because the Chargers lost to the Patriots. Kendra's hair looks very cute ponytail, hair and makeup. And then on the end, they show her walking out and they have like a graphic of like a I love Tom Brady taped to her back. So we haven't really seen much of Kendra in season 4. She comes back around to like do this because obviously it's like Super Bowl, she's into it. And of course this episode in reality was the beginning of season 5. This would be the second episode, well, the third episode of season 5 if you count like the standalone house bunny. And then there was the birthday episode we just watched, and then this one. And you would start to see, even in season 5, you still don't see a lot of Kendra because we're getting into the era where the producers talked to me and Bridget and said, you know, we think Kendra's not going to be doing the show anymore and we need to find somebody to replace her. So when we start doing that, I'll point it out. It's not that obvious because they fixed it later and like plugged Kendra in, but that's just what was going on behind the scenes. So the episode starts, we cut in with me at the studio. I am working on Kayla's Playmate shoot, and Kayla's set was like a 1950s soda shop because she worked at like an ice cream chain, Friendly's. So we wanted to do like a cute ice cream themed pictorial. And everybody dressed 50s to come to work that day. It was really fun. I brought my roller skates. We had like a little ice cream party at lunch. And in the confessional interview for this, I can't tell if I had Botox or I was just tired. Because I think I started getting Botox. I didn't get it regularly back then, but like every once in a while. And I think I started right when the show was like winding down. But I think I was probably just tired at this point. And in the confessional, I set it up like we couldn't wait to meet Kendra in Arizona for the Super Bowl, but I was so busy at the studio shooting Kayla, and I just hoped we made it there in time. But that's not the case. Like that wasn't done on the same day. You know what I mean? Like Hef didn't want to stay at the Super Bowl party longer than he had to, so we took a plane to fly to Arizona, do the party for a few hours, and fly right back home. They're just, of course, cutting it to make it look like it's all the same. And also, I think to kind of like make excuses for why Bridget and Kendra and I are not together. Like, oh, well, Kendra's doing this on this day, and Holly's working on this day, and Bridget dropped by. You know what I mean? You know what's so funny? And I never noticed this before. Okay, so like in season 1, or probably like across the first couple seasons, I don't remember when they used it, but they would use footage of Hef meeting Kendra for the first time at his birthday party so many times. And I mean, I kind of became a joke. I was like, oh, you're doing that again? Because it's like, you use it once, cool, but they just kept using it. Like, the show was like notorious for like repeating stuff. And I didn't notice it at the time. I think because the time these started airing, I was already moved out of the mansion, so I like wasn't really thinking that much about them when I rewatched them. But they, for the third time now, have shown the scene of when Hef walks into Kayla's nude photo shoot and takes a picture of her. Like, it's funny because it really looks like they're setting Kayla up to be the Kendra replacement, even down to like doing stuff like that. Or like the first episode we saw Kayla, they used Kendra's theme music when Kayla walked in. It's funny because later on down the line, Kayla would move into the Playmate house across the street. She was one of the ones that we brought in to like potentially replace Kendra when the producers asked for that. But that was later than this. Like, it looks like they're already setting that up. Anyway, and at one point I was sitting at the vanity doing my makeup and Hef walks in. I told this story in my book, and he was like, oh, we're gonna need to kick Kayla out of the bunny house and blah, 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 the Playmate house, he called it. And I was like, why? Like, I had no idea she like broke a rule or did anything like that. And he goes, oh, because Kendra doesn't like her and says she's mean. And I'm like, Kayla is not mean. Like, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Like, this is just ridiculous. And I don't know if Kendra really said that. Maybe she felt threatened by Kayla because maybe it was like a boy thing, or like maybe she picked up on the fact that the producers were trying to replace her and thought that Kayla might be the one. But also, like, that's kind of what I thought, like, at the point I was writing the book. But now, you know, that I've thought about this stuff more, I mean, that could have been a thing, but I tend to give Kendra some benefit of the doubt too, because there were so many times where like Hef started drama, or like people in the office would start drama. So who knows, like, Kendra could have just been like venting to Mary, like not thinking Kayla would really get kicked out, and then maybe Mary said something to Hef and then Hef brought it back. Or maybe Hef was just trying to drive more of a wedge between me and Kendra because he knew I liked Kayla. I have no idea. All I know is that happened, but I don't know where it came from. I'm wearing a cute Playboy Letterman's jacket, and I just like love the Letterman's jacket look on a girl. It's my favorite. One of those fun things about working at the studio is the sets they would build, because being in LA, they have access to all the Hollywood prop houses. There's a whole soda shop just built in the studio. The studio had cement floors, and any excuse to wear Heelys or roller skates or skateboarding, like, I took it. Everybody on the crew dressed up. Barry even wore like an Elvis wig. It was so funny. So then they cut back to Bridget in her room, and she's wearing like long underwear under her denim skirt. I'm like, it must have been cold out. I mean, this was in the winter. It was right before Super Bowl. Wednesday is looking very cute on the floor. Maybe they're not long underwear, but it just looks like it. We are back at Trashy Lingerie, one of our favorite locations. I was just on Paris Hilton's podcast, and we talked about Trashy because it's still there, but it was just such a fixture, like during the era when all these costume parties were happening, just to like go get your custom Halloween outfit and year-round outfits for us. Then they're cutting to Kendra at the Salon. It's Laurent's Salon. And this was a funny scene because he has such a heavy French accent, and he would say Super Bowl, he goes, Super Bowl. And anytime I think of this episode, that's all I think about is Super Bowl. And I remember when this episode came out, it was in October. I had broken it off with Hef. I was living at the mansion, but I was staying in room 5 at the time. And I had E on in the background, and the soup came on. And the E was running the promo for this episode at this time, and Joel McHale made fun of it, and he goes, so on Girls Next Door today, it's Super Bowl, because this was shot 8 months ago. It's just like the lead times on this show were wild. But I will say the next episode they made into a Halloween episode, and they had used some more recent footage of like Bridget doing a horror movie, but they used footage from like the Halloween the year before. They had banked it while we were shooting season 4. So they banked it for this season so they could finally have like a Halloween episode. But even so, the fans all called us out and were like, that was last year, but like, how else are we supposed to get Halloween on there? We can't shoot it in real time. I'm laughing so hard watching Laurent say Super Bowl. I don't know why. It's so funny. Laurent gave Kendra a clip-in bang, and for some reason I have a memory of going to his salon at night, like it was winter, so it was probably kind of early, but like already dark, and Kendra was there with the bang. But I don't know why I would have gone there that late, or like if I was picking her up, or like we were going somewhere together, or like this wasn't shot in real time. I'm so confused. I just have a weird memory of going to his salon, and it was near like the end times, like right before we all moved out, and she had the bang, the clip-in bang. I love a clip-in bang. I have one, but it's like platinum, so I used it in my Pam Anderson makeup video, but I can't really wear it because I do the root now, so I'd have to get like a different one, and I'd probably have to get several to go with like whatever phase my root growth was that week. And I love when they show Bridget skating in when she drops by at the studio, because they just speed it up just enough so it looks like she just zooms in out of nowhere. She has the cutest pink Wheels and Doll baby sweater. And I mean, don't get me wrong, like we had so much fun at work this day, like, and it shows Bridget and I making sundaes for everybody. But again, this is another moment where you're looking at this old reality show where you could just do a show about like we're doing a theme lunch at work today. Like there's no drama, there's no side story, there's no housewife flipping a table or throwing a wine glass. It's just like the woman who's sitting at the soda shop counter that I give the sundae to, her name was Liz, and she was a playmate in the 80s, and she was in charge of the sets at the studio, and just the sets were my favorite part of the shoot. So I loved working with her, and she was always so amazing at her job, and I could just be like, oh, why don't we build blah 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 blah, and then she'd like have it the next day. It was kind of amazing. I think this was back before everyone was lactose intolerant. Like, I don't think you could go and pass out real dairy ice cream at a workplace to anyone and everyone and have them be as thrilled today as they were back then, because I feel like now everybody's lactose intolerant. I know I am. So then it cuts to Arizona, and we know we're in Arizona because they are just showing us stock footage of Arizona. The desert cactus, a bird on a cactus. And I had never been to Arizona at this point. The flight out to the Super Bowl party was my first trip to Arizona. In and out, 2 hours. So then Kendra shows up to this football thing, and it's showing like all the celebrities that were there. And one of them they showed was Stacy Keibler. Do you remember her? She was on WWE, and she was on like the second season of Dancing with the Stars, and she was so cute on it. She was the one that made me want to do Dancing with the Stars. It's so funny, like just the difference in people's interests and what you're focused on and what you're not, because it shows like all these, celebrities at the football game, and like other than like Stacy Keibler, the only two people I recognize are the two guys from Fall Out Boy. And Kendra's like naming off all these football players. She's so excited to see all these football players, which I couldn't tell you who any of the football players are. And then she's like, and then there was that guy from that band, and that guy from that band. And meanwhile, like over here on the opposite side, like the guys from the bands are like the only people I recognize. So this thing Kendra's in, it's like a celebrity flag football thing. She looks really cute in her outfit. She makes it look like it would be fun to do, even though I don't think I'd have fun, but it looks fun. Okay, so then it cuts back to me with my dog Duke in my lap in the mansion dining room, and I'm looking at two centerfolds of Kayla. And the reason we have two centerfolds of Kayla is one was shot on a digital camera that we use for all the centerfolds. The other was shot on an old 8x10 camera that they used to shoot centerfolds on up through the 90s. And when I say 8x10 camera, picture like an old turn of the century photographer sitting down on the floor with a giant camera that looks like an accordion in front of him, and they put the sheet over their head. I kid you not, this is how Arnie had to shoot it, and this is how they shot centerfolds through the 90s to do this 8x10 version of the centerfold. And the reason we did this is I wanted to do an experiment because there were some Playboy mega fans, one in particular, who was constantly writing hef saying, you shouldn't be doing digital, you need to go back to the 8x10 format, it's a better quality. Which at one point, this is a woman writing this, she was spot on, because when they first tried digital, I would say this was in the early 2000s, like 2003 or so, like before I started working at the studio, the quality of digital photography just wasn't where it was even a few years later. So what you could do in 2008 was very different from what you could do in 2003. There's a couple centerfolds, I want to say February of 2004 Look at that one. Or December of 2003. I believe those were shot on digital. And if you have original prints of those centerfolds, I'm speaking to a niche audience right now, by the way, and I know this, but in case anybody cares, in case there's like some Playboy historians out there, you'll notice that the photos are a little grainy. That was not the case by the time we got to 2008. We actually didn't switch to shooting Playmates all on digital until I took over that job, because they were still shooting film and spending a ton on film developing. So we switched to digital, saved that money, and we did the comparison between the 8x10 and the digital. The digital was a lot sharper, a lot brighter. I showed it to Hef. He liked it better, so that he could feel good about that choice anytime somebody wrote into him and was like, you need to go back to 8x10. But one of the interesting things about 8x10 that was a little bit different is when they shot stuff on film back then, they would put a diffusion over the camera that would automatically give it like a little bit of a blur, a little bit a back in the day version of what would be considered a filter now. So it kind of softened everything, but you didn't really need that with all the amazing lighting and everything that Playboy had. So, but yeah, so we did that comparison. It was a fun experiment. I loved Kayla's centerfold. I remember when I did it, I always thought if I had a centerfold, that's what I'd want it to look like, with like the old 50s diner and the jukebox and stuff. But then I changed my mind later when we did Crystal McHale's centerfold, and I'm like, that would be my centerfold. So there's this scene, Bridget is getting dressed with Sarah, the makeup artist, helping her out, and she can't find anywhere to put her cell phone. She ends up sticking it in her boot. But before that, she puts it in this little purse. It's like the rhinestone Catherine Bowman, like a Judith Lieber type purse, and it gets stuck in there for a second, which is so nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking, but also like we weren't as dependent on our phones back then as we are now, so it wasn't as bad, but still. You guys, I'm looking in my day planner, my old day planner, just to, like, I know I'm not doing Kayla's shoot the same day we fly out to the Super Bowl, the same day Kendra's playing the football thing. Like, I already know that, but we went to the Super Bowl party on the Saturday the 2nd of February, and then I'm shooting Kayla like 3 weeks later. The Kayla shoot happened way after the Super Bowl stuff. Just FYI. So we are taking a private jet out to Arizona. We're taking Kelly Carrington, an upcoming Playmate, who we also saw in the last episode. And then it shows Kendra and Brittany out on the tarmac waiting for us. And Brittany's like this, she's so cold. And then we had a police escort to the Super Bowl party, which is the first time I'd ever seen a police escort for anything. The music and the slow-mo when we get out of the limo is so bad. It's like the cheesiest rock music. It looks like somebody's trying to make like a bad 80s music video or something. I just remember on that red carpet, like I was wearing this really like tight-fitting dress, and I was like sucking in my stomach for my life, and you can see me kind of turning in and like putting my arm over my stomach, because it's one of those dresses where you just see everything. And this party, it was in like a hangar somewhere, and it was so packed, like we could barely move. My memories of this party are just like a blur. Seeing us all try to fit in to the Bridget and Wednesday photo booth they had is just a mess. Like we couldn't do it. I think like I have half a boob in the picture. And because this was February of 2008, the March 2008 issue was already out, and we were on the cover of that as well. We didn't shoot a separate pictorial for it. It was just for like the sexiest celebrities list. And we shot a cover, which was our third cover. It's so crazy just to think about how one point I just so badly wanted to be a centerfold, and like I never thought I would be on 4 covers. We're like all the worst dancers in this. Like you can tell we're just like goofing off, but it looks so bad because I think that's trying to play it off like we're like trying to be cool at the party dancing. It's so bad. Not saying I'm a good dancer anyway, like when I'm not being goofy, but we were definitely being goofy. I like the end shot where Bridget and I blow a kiss to the camera. Anyway, best and worst of that episode. You know, there really wasn't anything like bad or triggering other than just like me looking stupid dancing. But I think a lot of people did, because I think a lot of us were being goofy. And then it's just like they play a different music on the show than was actually there, so we just all look off. It's just crazy. But my favorite part, I think, was watching Kayla's photo shoot, because it reminded me of like the good times I had working at the studio and how much fun everybody was. So the next episode is called Scream Test. It's another season 5 episode, but the last of season 4. Like if you're going by DVD or streaming, it's when we start doing a B horror movie with Bridget, and it's a fun one. So I will see you guys there.